TV.
Now, in what the Treasury CS, that is Ukuri Atani, says is aimed at easing the burden caused by accident, the 2022-2023 budget proposed a third-party policy for boda and three-wheeler operators known as tuk-tuks. The move comes at a time when the government is attempting to streamline the boda sector amid a growing public outcry. Well, let's get more from Martin Mwangi.
For the last few weeks, the boda industry has been in the eye of a storm over what many see as a sector gone rogue. The CS is now zeroing on the rising burden of accidents caused by boda riders across the country, proposing radical changes to their insurance policy. The CS wants motorcycle riders and three-wheeler operators to have mandatory insurance covers for their passengers to mitigate the risk.
In the recent times, motorcycles and three-wheelers have increasingly been engaged in commercial fare-paying passengers business. Unfortunately, the number of accidents in this category of business have been on a steady rise, yet the owners of motorcycles do not have insurance cover to cater for any treatment in case of injuries or compensation in case of death or any other damages caused by an accident involving motorcycles. In this respect, I propose to amend the insurance regulations to require motorcycles and three-wheelers used by fare-paying passengers to take insurance for their passengers.
The proposal comes at a time when the government is attempting to streamline the industry. After a female motorist was sexually assaulted along Professor Wangari Maathai Road in Nairobi last month, President Uhuru Kenyatta announced a crackdown on the boda sector. A section of politicians heavily criticized the exercise for alleged high-handedness. The crackdown was later suspended as the government attempted to establish an implementation framework through a multi-sector committee. The Ministry of Interior, on the other hand, has been registering boda riders at Huduma centers across the country, a process that will run until June 30th. This new proposal is bound to be the latest talking point in an industry that is loved and loathed in equal fashion. Martin Mwangi, NTV.
All right, thank you very much, Martin Mwangi. And of course, we'll get to understand how, the boda operators actually feel about this introduction of the third-party policy. But before that, remember, it's all about taming the boda sector. And of course, the question that we're asking you today is, what experience do you have with boda operators? And of course, we all know what has been happening recently in the boda sector. So of course, so many questions that we need, answers from. And we have the perfect person to just discuss, this topic. And of course, in studio with us today, we have Kevin Mubadi, who is the national chairman or president, the Boda Safety Association of Kenya. Thank you very much, Kevin, for coming by today. How are you this morning?
I'm very fine.
You're very well, yeah? Very well, thank you. And then we also have Henry Mchwenge, who is a boda operator. Henry, thank you very much again for joining us this morning. How are you?
I'm good.
You're very well, right? All right, and of course, joining us on phone is Joshua Kuria, who has had an experience, as far as mob justice is concerned from the boda operators. And of course, he'll also, just share his experience with us. So we'll be joining Joshua in just a moment. But for now, Kevin, let's just start with you. Again, the sector, right? It has dominated the headlines for quite some time now. And there's a lot that has happened. So we just want to understand what is happening in the boda industry.
Thank you. Okay. First of all, we say we apologize for what happened or what was the genesis of everything that has happened. And the boda sector, as a national organization, we are working very closely with the government to ensure that we structure the sector and we streamline it. And the first step that we have taken, there's something that have been happening behind the curtains, which people don't know, but it forced it to come early. And one of it was the registration of boda rider. Because for a very long time, we didn't know who is a boda rider, where is he, what is he doing. Because you just go to the shop, you buy your motorbike, you can do with it whatever you want. You can either use it to steal or you can use it to operate as a boda operator to carry passengers. And what we have discovered is that those genuine boda riders, someone who knows that this is my job, he wakes up early in the morning, maybe in front of Nation Center, maybe you have a stage where you see boda stand every day. That person who wakes up daily and comes there, stands there the whole day, carries people, he cannot steal from you.
That's true.
But we have these criminals who used to still using vehicles and run away, but nowadays there's a lot of traffic jam. They cannot use vehicles anymore. So someone someone just goes to the shop, buys a motorbike, he doesn't register it, he doesn't even do transfer, he uses it to steal. And once he steals from you at Nation Center here, then he disappears for almost 2 months.
You can't see.
But the genuine boda rider will always come back here to carry passengers because that's where he gets his daily bread.
Okay.
So
there's a lot of infiltration of
infiltration
rogue,
by the criminal,
you know,
yeah,
people who might want, you know, the again, innocent Kenyans to believe that they are boda operators.
Yes.
And of course, there's also an aspect of regulations. How do these people, first of all, get access, you know, to get to carry people, right? Because we see them on a daily basis. They're just everywhere, and it's very easy for them to barabara, you know, and you just hail them thinking that these are genuine, you know, boda operators. So of course, we'd also want to understand. So then, how do they get to that point of, you know, getting to carry passengers from point A to point B, and then in the process, you know, sometimes actually commit crime. But for you, Henry, again, so for how long have you been a boda operator?
I've been a boda operator from 2009.
2009?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
It's over 12 years.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's just talk about the journey and the evolving, you know, as far as the boda sector is concerned in the country. For example, for you since 2009 all the way to 2022, what has that been processed like?
The journey has not been easy, but things are changing. I started riding in Mombasa in 2009, and it was not easy because even going to the job maybe as early as 6, between 6 and 8, and from 7 in the evening to like now 6 in the morning. It was terrible. Our friends were being murdered, the bikes were going, but now everybody will say the bodas are thieves. So we had that fear. But for now, things are changing. The government is coming in. The police are at least doing work. So for now, you might find out that we have got people who work, like me, I usually work on daily basis, like in the morning to evening. And then there are our friends who work from now evening, let's say 8 to maybe 6. Right. So we have got 24 hours. Our sector is going 24 hours. So there's no time you cannot find a boda rider on the road. But at the beginning, you know, the law was being applied partially. So, and that is what you are seeing people engaging in mob justice and whatever, because the riders were feeling that they were not getting justice.
Okay.
But now with Kevin Mbadi as national president, Boda Safety Association of Kenya, we are working hand in hand with the government, and we are doing a lot to bring sanity in the sector. So now even as we sit here, maybe a boda rider is arrested by the police, and maybe he feels that his rights have been infringed. He will just call, and we will take action. Okay. So we find out that that mob justice is going down, although on the same, we have got the rock riders, and on the issue of safety of the public or the users, our clients, I might advise them, when you want to take a boda to take you from point A to point B, try to go where the stages are, because mostly when you go outside there, you'll find people like 10 sitting in a group, and you usually see them daily. Like they are our friends at Total here. So go there. Don't take a bike that is passing.
It's just passing by.
Yeah, because the bike that is passing will be cheaper. Of course, I know that. But now the repercussion might be high.
That's true.
Yeah, so the person who is passing, if he goes with you, and maybe something is done, where will you find him? But if you come and take the bike on at the stage, you'll just come and maybe mention to them, I took with a black guy, tall, very strong. Then they'll tell you, no, that is Henry.
That's Henry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and again, I mean, there might be some who are really, for example, just good people. It's just that then they have not been able to, you know, to register and become part of an association. But then again, I hear what you're saying. Not everyone who's just passing by with a motorcycle is a genuine boda operator. But there's also something that you said, which I think is very important, is that for a very long time, riders did not get the justice that they deserved, because again, some of them, like you said earlier on, most of them were actually murdered in the night. You know, some had their, you know, their motorbikes actually just taken away, you know, from them, stolen and stuff. So they didn't feel that they got justice for a very long time. So it was more of a revenge, you know, mission to anyone, whether it is a motorist, you know, or just somebody else. You know, it was more of a revenge mission.
Yeah, okay. Maybe when I can intervene on that. Everything has a genesis. For a very long time, you know, when the boda started, it started with a bicycle.
Yes.
So the government didn't realize that maybe these people need to be trained, because with the bicycle, it was slow, so there was no much accident and all those things.
Yeah.
But now with the motorcycle, you find that it has a very high speed, and it's like now a motor vehicle. But you find these guys are on the road, they don't have licenses.
Okay.
Some don't have insurance. So when you get an accident on the road and you go to a police station and you don't have a license or insurance, automatically, even if you are the one that was knocked, you are on the wrong, as per the law.
Right.
So most of the riders who are going to the police station, maybe they don't have licenses, and they find that, okay, maybe they were knocked wrongly, but the police officer is telling them that they are the ones that are on the wrong and they need to go to court. So you find that when they come out, they said, okay, I was knocked and I went to the police, I never got justice, but not realizing that they don't have this required document.
Okay.
So what we are doing with the government now is, first of all, to sensitize, because if you want to if you want to solve a problem, we start with the root cause.
Sure.
So we are telling our riders that we partner with the government through NYS to train the riders, because also the driving schools were not there for the riders. Even if they were there, they are like 100 kilometers away from the villages, from wherever. So you find it is very difficult for this rider to access this education.
Yeah.
And secondly, they are very expensive. So we have discussed with the government. We have trained NYS to deploy them in all the sub-counties. We have also talked to the government to waive all the fees paid for the motorcycle, because you find this rider took a motorbike on loan. He has to pay daily like 500 shillings, and he earns maybe like 700 or 800 a day. He has to feed the family, and you must pay the loan. So you find whatever that he remains with is very little. He cannot even pay for the school fees, but he can sustain his livelihood. So that's where now the government comes in the support of the youth of this country, to waive the fees for the fees that were being paid at the NTSA, to make sure that now these riders can access this driving license. So once we get the driving license, then it means that even if you are knocked wrongly, or if you knock someone, when you go to the police station, the first place you have passed your exams now, because you have the license. So the police will not victimize you because you don't have a license.
The required documents.
Number two is about now the insurance. And this is where now the government through IRA has to come out and sensitize the riders. It is very important for you to have an insurance, because when you are knocked, insurance has to pay you, or when you knock someone, insurance has to pay that person. So you find that most of our riders, maybe they don't know the importance of insurance, or they don't know if they really need to have this. So you find when they go to the police, they are asked, where is your insurance? They don't have, then there's another trouble. So we are trying to sensitize them to understand how to operate when you are on the road.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll come back to some of the interventions and, of course, regulations that have been introduced just recently. And, of course, what Treasury CS, that is Ukuri Tanit, you know, just proposed in terms of a third-party policy, you know, not only to cover the operator, but also the pillion, right? But before that, let's talk to Joshua. And of course, Joshua has had a very bad experience, you know, and especially in 2019, where he almost lost his life. That is to mob justice. So Joshua, thank you very much for speaking with us this morning. Let's go back all the way to 2019. What exactly happened to you?
I was going home.
Good morning, Joshua. Go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me? I was going home. It was around midnight. And when I reached, I still had gone. When I reached a junction where I divert to my home, I encountered a boda rider who was on high speed. And I signaled. He saw like I was to hit him. So he swerved and fell on his own. Around there were so many other motor bodas and they came immediately. They started stoning my car. Because I was still inside the car, I sped off. I didn't wait, because I didn't hit him. I thought he had it safely, and so I just sped off. I didn't go home. I went back. I wanted to go back to Karen police station. I report my case, but I didn't get there. I got another car coming, and I swagged myself. I was put now to a ditch. The boda riders caught up with me, and they started beating me.
Okay.
Yeah, they almost killed me. I was taken unconscious to police station by well-wishers.
Okay, so Joshua, so they were on the wrong.
Yes, they were on the wrong.
Okay, but then again, when the accident happened, of course, all of them, who were there, came to attack you.
Yes, the problem that happens around all these incidents is when any incident happens, before you even know who is on the wrong, they normally come. They are the majority at that time at night. The boda riders are the majority. They are the majority on the road. So even if you go to the court or anywhere, they will say you bring witnesses. So you don't have any witness with you. Then that is one major area why you fight them gunning up. And then most of them at night, they are not doing genuine business. Most of them. But you have good boda riders.
That's true.
And those who are very helpful. I was rescued by a well-wisher, somebody who stood with me, who worked at those security companies that are normally around the road. They came and rescued me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wait, because initially you said, of course, when the accident happened, they started stoning your car, but you managed to take off. But of course, you were blocked at some point, so you could not get to the police station. So they caught up with you. So did they get into your car, maybe get you out of the car, and then that is when you were hurt? Or exactly what happened when they caught up with you?
When they caught up with me, they started, and now they were stoning the car again. And I couldn't wait for the stones in the car, so I had to come out now. Because my car was in the ditch, I couldn't go anywhere. So I had to come out. And when I came out now, some were very interested in stealing things from the car, and that were just picking me up. Even the person who was involved in the accident who fell was not there. Yeah, the group now I was dealing with was a totally new group who don't know what has happened, who am I, where I've come from. You know, it was a total uncalled for.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, Joshua, that of course you had to go through that. And of course, let's just pose this to Henry, and then I'll come back to you, Joshua, in just a moment. So Henry, of course, we see this almost on a daily. And there was a point where, it got to a point where we saw some people whose cars, were actually burnt, by some of this rogue boda operators. And of course, you also talked about an aspect of we did not get justice for a very long time, so it's like it is a revenge mission, take matters onto our own hands. But isn't there a way that some of these things can be sorted in an accident? Because most of the time you find that it is the boda operator who is on the wrong. And we're not saying that all boda operators are really bad people. We've had really good people. I've had experience with really good people. But also the aspect of, can't we just have like order in terms of sorting this out instead of just attacking someone and just beating someone up, and even, their cars as well?
Of course, there are a lot of mechanisms, there are a lot of ways of solving conflicts. And boda sector or industry is an industry whereby everybody just rushes in. It's
easy to get into.
Yeah, easy to get into. So we are sorry, first of all, about Joshua's incident. And many other Kenyans that have gone through that. It is very painful. I myself have been involved in a lot of accidents, and I think there's no day I've tried even to take law into my hands. In fact, the first person who hit me on the road was a lady in Mombasa. And even she was unable to come outside the car because she was panicking and that. But I woke up, my bike was okay, and the injury I had was not very bad. And then there were people, Kenyans, mob justice, it doesn't come only by riders.
In one side, yes.
There are people who come and incite the mob justice because where the lady hit me, I was only the rider. But these other civilians, the fellow Kenyans, were telling me, why are you leaving this lady to go like that? Why? Because I told the lady, now the bike is okay and I think I'm okay. I'll manage, you can go.
So they were inciting you?
In fact, they wanted to beat me now.
Okay.
So
why?
This is behavior that is with a lot of Kenyans, and a lot of people went into boda sector who are just we are just Kenyans, and you find somebody maybe has not passed through the school. As the national chairman has said, maybe we need a lot of sensitization. A lot of things must be done so that we get to a point whereby this rider can understand the law. They just know that the law maybe is just to beat somebody up, and that is it. So, but in doing so, you find out now that even you are not going to get justice because you have beaten somebody, or maybe, for instance, like the lady who was at Forest Road, what happened to her. So you find out even the guy who was involved in the accident and he needs a lot of help. He won't get justice because now you have destroyed everything. Now we are looking at the person you have injured next, rather than the first one. So I think it is still a long journey. I think we need such interviews to tell our riders that the solution is not beating up somebody. But now also what I can tell you is a lot of Kenyans are hitting riders and running into police station saying that they wanted to be beaten maybe. So it is something that people are using. Instead, when the accident happens, as much as we try to educate our riders that when the accident happens, you stop, you wait for the police. These other Kenyans also should do that, because somebody hits you, runs to the police station, reports that you wanted to hit, maybe to do mob justice. And then when you go to the police station now, after maybe you have recovered or whatever, you find out that now the case is on your side.
Okay.
So we want to educate everybody, Kenyans with vehicle and Kenyans on two-wheel. So when an accident happens, just be patient. Wait. If you are a rider and you are not the one involved in an accident, I usually say, or I normally say, sometimes when the incidence of mob justice have gone high, the government is really advising people not to crowd at the scene of accident.
Yeah, because there's a lot of incitement, you know, like you talked about. And again, Kevin, I can understand, because sometimes there's a lot of emotions going, you know, going on at that time, that sometimes it might be difficult to control such a crowd, whether it's from the rider's side or either from, you know, like just say common wananchi, you know, who are just you know, crowding at a place at the scene of accident, right? So then again, who then needs to take the initiative just to make sure that fine, an accident has happened? You don't really have to come ati tunasimama na mmoja wetu kwa sababu umemgonga, you know, because most of the time we actually see some boda riders who actually operate on the wrong side of the road. So it's very easy to get into an accident.
So you see, what you are doing through the reform, we are doing what we call self-regulation. And self-regulation is about now the boda themselves understanding what they should do whenever there is an accident. And from what has happened and the sensitization that we have been taking around, from that incident, I've witnessed around 3 cases of the accidents. But most of the people that have been involved in those accidents, they're telling me nowadays, when you knock a boda rider, the others are not coming to do the mob justice. So it seems that now people are understanding, and we are training our people that now you must secure the scene. If you want our person to get justice, then it is the duty of each and every boda that might come there, or might pass and see a fellow boda being knocked down. It's his duty to make sure that he secure the scene.
Okay.
How do you secure the scene? By making sure that there's no interference, there's no fighting back with the other. Even if there's other people that want to crowd and fight the other motorists, you make sure that you control that scene to allow the police to come and take the evidence and take the photos and make sure now that the case takes the right course. So we are doing a lot of sensitization and in partnership with the government also to talk to the police officers to be human, so that they don't intimidate the riders. Once you go there, let them follow justice, let everything follow the law. Whoever that will be found with a mistake, then he will be punished by the law, rather than being punished at the police station. So those are some of the things that you are taking into consideration, and we'll see that the sector will reform. And if you want to know that the sector is reforming, you go outside here and see the queue, how the genuine boda riders are queuing long queues to make sure that they get registered. And we are urging them to make sure that they register so that we can answer this question: who are they, where are they, and what are they doing? And in case they get a problem, how can we be able to support them?
Yeah, but the question is, the industry has been with us for a very long time.
Yes.
You know, and of course, since the zero rating of the you know, of the motorcycles, of course, it's like you said earlier on, it's very easy for a lot of people to just go get you know, or get themselves a motorcycle. But then again, when it comes to you know, registration and just being like genuine members of, you know, the boda sector, that is where we have a problem. So someone might ask, since, you know, for example, like what, 2008, you know, all the way we're in 2022 right now, but we still see a lot of rogue cases, you know, of boda operators. Why hasn't this then regulations been strengthened just to avoid some of these cases that we're seeing?
You know, the sector is very big, and for any regulation to come in place, there must, as per the law, as per the government policy and everything, there's a very long route that is to be followed. And one, you remember the government never realized that this sector is going to boom and be a big sector at once. So from 2018, we had a task force committee. When the Ministry of Interior, through Dr. Fred Matiang'i, realized that, okay, we need to regulate this sector, he formed a task force committee, which came up with some of the recommendation. And part of the recommendation were that these people should be registered to enable anybody, once you are knocked or someone snatches your phone and you see the number plate, then you can easily track and trace the person. And also, we have these other motorcycles that are being used to commit crimes. You find them in the people's houses, committing crime all over. How you can see the number plate, but you can never track them. So the recommendation of the task force was that we have to register these people, put them into groups, into circles, so that they might operate knowing each other and area of operations. So this is a very long process, because you have to, the task force committee brought the recommendation, then it has to go to the cabinet for whatever, then it goes to parliament. So it has been a long process, generating the systems that will register the riders. You are not doing the manual, because if it is a manual, it's a one-day thing, then everybody goes home. But now it has to be a digital register, whereby you can track and trace easily. So creating also the system takes time.
It takes time. So the aspect of
so these are the things that have been on the background. That's why when you saw, when it happened, this we were almost finishing, but now it forced us to start immediately as the system are being created, as all other policies are being put in place. But I can assure you the government have been working very closely with us to ensure that we secure the boda sector. And we as an organization, we have also been championing the welfare of our members. We're taking them to the government and discussing with the government on how we can support the boda riders best, because they also suffer. Apart from what you see, the one cases that you see, there are other huge cases behind the scene that are not reported, but you find that the boda rider has actually suffered a lot.
All right. So it's a two-way, like we said. It's not only the boda you know, riders who again get themselves into trouble. We also have other cases of them themselves being the victims. So then, what do we need to do to just make sure that there's two, that is both the client and the boda operator are safe? All right. So Joshua, of course, having gone through that very traumatic experience, I remember speaking to you, and you can still, you know, feel the trauma, you know, of what happened on that day. What would you say then needs to be done? Because like you said, you've also experienced really, really good boda operators, but of course, you know, you also had a very traumatic experience with some of them. So then what do you think needs to be done just to make sure that there's a bit of peace, you know, and coexistence among both the boda operators and I would say like Kenyans in general?
Yeah. Personally, I think we are generalizing issues so much, and the boda guys are like generalizing issues, saying these people of motorists are the ones who are in the wrong. So there need to be an act of taking issues through and not generalizing issues.
Okay.
And we need to educate the boda riders. Most of them have no experience on the road. They don't use the road signs. They know you see them overloading their bodas. You see them carrying so many people and driving so dangerously. So these are the very simple things that they can be trained on. We need them to be trained so that when they get on the road, we can use the road all together. The motorists and boda guys, we can all use the same road in peace. Because there is that conflict of these people of motor vehicles and these people of motorbikes. And we are generalizing, like the case that happened on Wagari Mazai Road. All the boda, all the good guys, all the bad guys, everyone was affected. And you see, we are affecting our industry. And if we generalize like that, like we punish all of them. And it is something that could have been dealt with there and then, the person who was involved. Of course, I understand there are very many good boda riders who have everything that is needed, who have good training. I've been working with them, and I have no any bitterness with them anymore. But now I'm out there to try and do my part. Try and whenever I'm carried by a boda, I think I don't add without giving my piece of advice to that person. Okay. If I see somebody doing wrong, I will tell them, there is this sign, you should wait for this car to move. You see. And we all use the road together. Okay. Then they stop taking advantage. There are these people who are taking advantage over the others. As in, when you do something small, they come and now inflict other things on you. Yeah. Then there are those people, the riders, who are driving when they are drunk, when they have taken drugs. That area also needs to be taken seriously with the government, because these are the people who are causing accidents.
That's true. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joshua, for joining us this morning, and of course just sharing your experience, but also some of the things that needs to be done just to make sure that then again there's sanity in, the sector that is the boda sector, and of course we can just learn to coexist, and especially on the road. So thank you very much, Joshua, for that. And of course, let's take a look at some of the feedback on what you had to say. We had asked you a question, and that is, what has been your experience with the boda operator? So let's get to hear what some of you had to say. So the question is, what is your experience with boda operators? So it's hilarious. Rabjas says that I think boda operators are just hustlers who fight to make ends meet. So the government should actually treat them well for their side, and they should also, I did not get to finish that, all right. And then David Cole says, we all use them often, so they play a very vital role in transforming the economy, but when accident happens, some need to style up for sure, all right. And then someone else says they are not bad, wanachomeka na jua ya mchana yote mvua, wanaamka mapema. Is that what you're saying? Yes, wanaamka mapema, wanarudi usiku. Every end of trip the customer is their salary, so they don't know actually, what they don't know actually is how much they will earn. It's only God who knows, all right. And then at Levi Jewel says, both worlds. Some are genuinely hardworking and down to earth, while others are looters, manzi. The latter are modern day bullies, okay. And then someone else says, all right, we'll get more feedback as we continue. This is Evans, who said they are the best guys in town and reserve. They can help you anytime you need them as long as you pay them well. Hongera sana, the Okada guys, we value you the most. All right, so of course a bit of mixed reactions over there. Some are really good, but others, you know, cannot be trusted. So of course we're just trying to find ways in terms of then how do we streamline this sector. You know, the government has tried. Just recently we had the president actually talk about some of these regulations, but of course we'll also have the persons who are in the sector themselves in studio today just to help us understand what is going on and what we need to do. So I'll be coming back with more of your feedback, but let's take a break. This is Your World. More still to come on the boda sector. Stay with us.
At the first sign of pain, you need a solution that you can trust. Try Panadol Advance. With Panadol's Optizode formula, the tablet absorbs quickly and starts providing fast and effective pain relief you can trust. Try Panadol Advance.
Are you a herb beneficiary with an outstanding loan? From the 1st of March to the 30th of April 2022, we are offering you a 100% COVID-19 penalty waiver. Kamilisha malipo yako ya HELB leo.
All our dreams can come true, and HELB is the best place to empower our dreams. Kamilisha malipo ya HELB.
Take advantage of the 100% penalty waiver and clear your HELB loan today. Terms and conditions apply. Higher Education Loans Board, empowering dreams.
How many cases have you taken to court?
Gentlemen, 453.
And one conviction. You should be disbanded.
We do not prosecute. Our case is to investigate.
The biggest enemy that the Kenyan people have is not malaria, is not HIV, is not COVID, it's politicians.
In as much as Boni says we should elect good leaders, what if we are not good ourselves as a country?
God has no voter's card. God will never elect anyone. The devils that you think you need to be scared of are the devils that you elect.
The impunity we have, you know, we blame them. Look at our roads. The impunity, bodas, the matatus, how we drive, everything we do. Impunity is rampant everywhere.
The law must be seen to work.
This country is bigger than you and your party.
The Bank of Uganda estimates that in 2020, $418 million was earned in trade surplus from the DRC. Of this, $177 million originated from informal trade exports. So what opportunities lie in wait for Uganda and the entire regional bloc?
Africa has got a good design and good luxe brands as well, just like the rest of the world, that are beautifully crafted. We are here to compete with the world on aesthetics.
Growing up, I used to always have nightmares about this. My past has affected me in my business. It helps me deal with my business with care, with and just to like I said, the survival instinct is like it has to work. I'm not gonna give up.
Brookhurst International School welcomes parents to enroll their children for April intake. Class 8 graduates can now enroll in Year 9. We are excellent in education, talent and sports development. Enroll now in our main campus in Kiserian and in our campus in Lavington, Mudhangari Road.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're still with us. This is Your World, and just in case you're tuning in right now, today our focus is on taming the boda sector. And of course, the question that we're asking you today is, what is your experience with boda operator? Once again, what is your experience with boda operator? Keep tweeting at NTV Kenya at Lubembe_Winnie, or if you are on Facebook as well, we are at NTV Kenya. So just keep interacting with us and just tell us your experience and of course what you expect to see when it comes to the regulation of the boda sector. But before we take a look at your feedback, well, a countrywide crackdown on boda operators in all the 47 counties, of course, started. And of course, it underwent in a while where President Uhuru Kenyatta's directive. Now, the operation, which has already affected over 900 boda operators, follows public outrage after a woman motorist was sexually assaulted by dreaded riders. This is moments after being involved in an accident along the Wangari Maathai Road. So take a look at what happened.
913 motorcycles were impounded and 229 boda operators arrested in Nairobi County as the countrywide crackdown on rogue bodas took effect immediately. 200 boda riders were arraigned at the Milimani Law Courts, where they were charged with various traffic offences, including riding along pedestrians' pavements and causing obstruction. They all pleaded guilty to the 2 counts and were each fined 35,000 shillings. Prior to their arraignment, the operators had been apprehended and held at Central, Kamkunji and Muthaiga police stations. The crackdown came after the sexual assault on a woman motorist by boda operators on Friday last week.
It is not a license for you to strip and remove dignity from our women. No. Instructed the law enforcement officers to use the instruments within the law to punish these perpetrators.
It is our expectation that within a very short time, we are going to see law and order and sanity restored.
The heinous act was widely condemned.
And we must together condemn and prevent all such violence.
This is unacceptable. It should not be tolerated by this group.
Hao watu walitenda hiyo kitendo wachukuliwe sheria.
In a crisis meeting involving Nairobi's county's senior security officers and the leadership of the boda sector in the country, the patron of the nationwide boda integrated management system said efforts will be effected in a bid to streamline the rogue sector.
We are fast-tracking the process to ensure that countrywide, every rider has a unique identifier.
Tukisema hiyo sekta ifutiliwa mbali, Kenya hii itakuwa na wakora wengi sana.
Sipe tu mtoto na kuenda kuchukulia mtoto loan na kupea pikipiki bila mtoto kufikisha umri ya kufanya boda.
It is estimated that there are over 1 million motorcycles in the country operating as bodas, with the capital city alone accounting for up to 50,000.
All right, and of course the government did not back down, and that is of course on the national crackdown on the boda operators. Well, Interior Cabinet Secretary, that is Dr. Fred Matiang'i, said the reforms in the rogue sector are long overdue and appealed for cooperation among motorcycle riders. However, the operators accused police of harassment and soliciting bribes as they call upon the president to clarify what the new measures were.
As the nationwide crackdown on boda operators entered its 4th day, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i says the government won't relent on its reform agenda.
The sector grew faster than the regulatory frameworks. So you have no established schools, you have no established certification system, you have no established way of processing these people.
In a consultative meeting with journalists in Nairobi, the CS, along with his ICT counterpart Joe Musheru, stated that the government is working towards the 2019 task force report on reforming the boda sector.
What the report said is that 60%, actually more, according to that report, of boda riders then 2 years ago were neither registered nor licensed. Over 65% of them were not even insured, you know. And now the harrowing experience is that about 70% of them were not trained to ride a motorcycle.
However, representatives of the 2.4 million boda operators in the country are opposing the ongoing crackdown, terming it an avenue for police to extort and harass them. In Molo, Nakuru County, over 50 motorbikes were impounded and 20 boda operators arrested through an operation led by the Molo Sub-County Police Commander, Mwenda Mudhami.
Sisi watu wengine tumekopa pikipiki. Pikipiki zetu tunalipia loan. Hii pikipiki nalipa loan, inisaidia kulipa kwangu, inisaidia kusomesha hata watoto wangu.
In Kisii County, the crackdown was spearheaded by County Commissioner Alan Masharia, who warned that those who will not abide by the new law will face the full wrath of the enforcement agencies.
Sisi huwa hizi pikipiki tunaendeza ni loan, tuna serve loans.
And in Kirinyaga County, a section of leaders condemned the tear gassing of the boda operators at Kerugoya police station on Thursday. The operators had attempted to retrieve impounded motorcycles from the law enforcers.
All right, and only genuine boda operators will be registered afresh in the countrywide crackdown aimed at streamlining the rogue sector. Well, in a meeting with boda stakeholders at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i announced that the 5,800 shillings license fee for all boda operators will be waived.
For the second day in a row, police launched an operation in Nairobi's Central Business District targeting boda operators. The dramatic exercise, led by Nairobi Deputy Commander James Mugera, was extended outside the CBD, where several motorcycles were confiscated, with most riders fleeing to safety. While the police and boda operators engaged in a cat-and-mouse game in the capital, senior government officials led by Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and his ICT counterpart Joe Musheru convened a crisis meeting with the leaders of the country's boda associations at the Kenyatta International Convention Center.
Na yule ameomba pesa pia kanunua gari, na mwingine ameomba pesa kanunua trailer, and so on and so forth. So now, what gives you the right to ban that fellow's car and they're even paying a loan?
We hope we will work with you very closely to make sure we not only weed out all these bad elements, but that we now grow this sector.
We have one objective: kuleta this sector cooperate within the law.
Tumeomba msamaha kwamba we are going to streamline the sector when we get the required support.
In the new reforms, only genuine operators will be relicensed free of charge.
Hakuna kuitisha 5,800, President amesema free registration. So that sasa upate licenses, tujue wewe ni nani anaendesha boda na anaendesha wapi.
The government blamed politicians for sabotaging the implementation of the 2018 boda task force reforms.
We started implementing the recommendations. Some of our political friends hijacked the recommendations and started now spending negative energy on it.
The DCI has requested 20 days custodial for each of the 16 suspects accused of sexual assault on a female motorist. The suspects, including boda riders, matatu conductors and drivers, were arraigned today. The prosecution informed the court that the investigation is complex and will require forensic analysis, which will take time. According to the prosecution, the complainant, a diplomat, was robbed of her iPhone worth 130,000 shillings and sexually molested. The court was also told she did not fill out the P3 form because she is undergoing medication and counseling, and the suspects cannot be released at this time.
All right, and of course, given all this recommendations as far as the reform and regulation that is of the boda sector, has that been affected? What has happened? And of course, Kevin, I just want to understand. So fine, after the re-registration process, right? How many boda operators have been re-registered so far, and is the exercise still ongoing?
Yeah, the exercise is ongoing across the country, and I can maybe tell you from what you have seen during those meetings and all that crisis, that was the toughest moment I have ever gone through as a leader. You know, everything now was on my head. Oh, you are people are doing this. But we want to thank the government. They came in and also the boda riders, most of them, they have cooperated. And the registration is going on well. And most of the stations, they are registering almost 200 people daily. And we have 52 stations across the country. So since the launch, well, I personally was in Mombasa to oversee the launch of the registration. But most of them, they're registering over 200 people per day. So you can imagine from the day it was launched up to now, almost now 2 weeks, it's quite a huge number that is being registered. And what we are working with the county commissioners also is now to develop the registration to other centers for you, because you find there's one Huduma center in a county and it is far, like 150 kilometers to the town, the city center of the capital city of that capital of that county.
Town,
so we are working together to see how now can we develop after you finish the center, then we can develop to the DCC offices and so that many people can register. We are targeting almost 1.6 million riders to be registered at the end of the period of 2 months that you were given. Those are 60 days. And what I'm receiving from the counties across the country is that many people are coming out in large numbers to make sure that they are registered. This shows that these people are ready to reform. We just had some few criminals within us. You can imagine we have over 1.5 million riders in this country. If all of them were criminals, and I think we need now to change this term, the rogue and whatever. If all of this 1.6 million people were rogue, then this country, nobody can stay here. But it's just that one instance that involves very few criminal elements is the one that taints all the name of all the riders. But now with the show of that the riders have shown that they can come out and get registered and they are ready. And the other day we held a meeting with the CS Musheru and Matiang'i at Kenya School of Government, where we invited all the sub-county officials from across the country. Those are almost 292 plus the 290 plus 47 county chairs. And they agreed to support the government agenda, and they agreed to make sure that they follow the reform lay-down procedure that has been put by the government. So our people will reform, and maybe in the next 2-3 months, you'll see a different boda sector. In Nairobi, when you walk around, we have now started giving them badges with the code colors. So you'll see a motorcycle, a rider has a badge, an identification ID for the rider, and where he operates from. And even we are putting the unique numbers on their motorcycle, because reading KMDE, blah, 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 is a long story. You cannot cram it within a second. But when you see number 120, when you bring that number to us, we'll tell you where he operates from and wherever.
To someone else.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're talking about the reform. So what, I mean, and I want to ask in terms of the changes that we expect to see as Kenyans, in terms of, because like even when you go to different parts of this country, you know, go up country, you'd find that mtu amemaliza tu class 8, right? Ama form 4. And then ameitwa na beshte yake who has a motorcycle, umekuja nikufunze, you know? And then a week later, this person knows how to operate this motorcycle, alenda anachukua yake, and then, like you said, without any registration, no licensing, they start operating, right? So how different is this sector going to be starting now? Do we have like a process in terms of maybe must be 18 years old? Do we have like some of these regulations that one has to meet before being, you know, part of the sector?
Yes, what we are doing is registration through the circles, because everybody will be in a group or a circle. If you are not in a circle, then you will have to come and ask the chairman that you want to be registered. And those circles, we are registering them, the members of those circles, we are registering them digitally on our system, BIMS, Boda Information Management System, which was launched by CS Matiang'i, to make sure that we do our own internal regulation. So for you to come, you must have an ID. That will be the duty of the circle chair in the areas of operation, to make sure that he wants to register you in his circle, so you must have an ID. If you have an ID, the other thing now, it qualifies you to have a license. Because now if you have an ID, you can go and register in the school and get trained. So the second thing now, before you enter into the sector, you must have a license. So with that now, we'll have solved the issue of under 18s. And we also we are working closely with the chiefs and the ngao structure of the government to make sure that the chiefs tell the parents during their barazas that don't allow your child to use a motorcycle if he's not qualified to be on the road.
All right.
Because now we want law to be seriously taken by the chiefs dealing with the parents, because we have now this parent who just allow their children to go and ride and cause accidents and run away.
That's true.
So we want these things to be solved at the lowest point possible. And also at the operation areas, we call them bases, where the riders operate, we are telling them to be police of each other. When you see someone who is not adhering to rules and regulations that you have laid down, then you can easily report to the police or to the near to the OCS or whoever that you are working with. So the relationship is good, and we are expecting much more to come out of this sector as we reform.
Yeah,
yes.
because again, like you said earlier on, it's very, very convenient, you know, and especially in traffic, you know, jams, maybe you need to be somewhere, you need your goods to be delivered, you know, on time. It is a very, very convenient sector, but then again, like you said, you know, there's just a few people, very few people who want to take
actually,
you know, the sector. Can I come back to you? I just need to speak to Joshua, who is, again, so Joshua had an experience, but he is a motorist. And Joshua, like you said earlier on, you've met really, really good people. You also try to work with them just to make sure that, you know, pass as much information as you can as far as educating one another in terms of let's share the road and let's be mindful of each other, you know, motorists and the motorcycle or, you know, boda operator, right? So have you seen any changes now, and especially since, you know, the President and Interior Cabinet Secretary were involved in this and of course issued a new raft of measures just to make sure that the sector is regulated? Have you noticed any changes?
Yes, we have seen so much change and so many good developments. As in, everyone now is aware of the borders and their actions and their ways of operation. Most of them, you can see their posters, they are putting, they are saying they are sorry. They have seen their side of wrong, and they really want to come up and be good people. Okay. And put on good behaviors. We have seen them doing good, becoming good. Becoming good on the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But we have seen some who are, and especially in town, you're just minding your business, you are on the right you know, side of the road, but then this person just comes from nowhere, okay? And I want to ask that to Henry. Henry, is it too difficult to just obey, you know, traffic rules? Because number one, there's an aspect of overloading, right? And then there's also the question of not observing, you know, like traffic rules, you know? And then the aspect of I always have the right of way. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you are a pedestrian, whether you are a motorist. It's like the boda you know, operator has the right to way. And even when it comes to traffic lights, still, you know, like all easy guys is small, but then they just, you know, is it that difficult or is it ignorance?
I think in your statement you started with in town.
Okay.
Yeah, in this town, we have got a problem, and from there I will first of all go direct to the acting Nairobi Police Post, Mr. Police Boss, Mr. Mugera. I think he should be lenient to borders operating in the CBD.
Okay.
There's a lot ongoing in this town. They are telling the operators, since the president put on the crackdown, in CBD the crackdown is still on. And people are crisscrossing everywhere, going wrong side because the police are using ladies, using young men and old men to arrest the riders. So this rider is in a mode of just running with the client, but is running. Okay. So we could request the police force to at least let us have a mechanism of where the riders will be operating, so that when you are told not to operate in CBD, you are told now operate
given
here.
An alternative.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we talked to NMS, and NMS told us to wait until they finish the Green Park, and then they have got another stage in Ngara and some other stages in Westlands and whatever. So we could be picking clients there, bring in town, and then in town we can pick a client maybe down here at your place, maybe if you stop me, but not stopping in town as we are stopping now. So if they can kindly wait and we have that mechanism of working, it will be good. But for now, it is just people are just rushing here and there. So I want to advise the public in CBD, when you say boda boda, just get off, because he's running. He doesn't know you are police or not. So he doesn't want anybody near the bike. And on the same note, like stopping on traffic lights, because I'm a boda boda operator, and it's now like 10 years. That thing has been difficult, even for myself.
Yes.
It's just that we are changing. But now the problem is when you stop at the lights, the police come and arrest you. That is the problem they have.
Oh.
When you try to follow the vehicles behind, maybe the sitters carries come and arrest you. So that is the main cause of these people not stopping.
Why are they coming to arrest you?
No, because like for now they'll tell you are not supposed to be in town. And we don't know if the law is there, because when they take you to the court, they'll write that you are maybe riding on the pavement or maybe obstruction. Now they are not.
Although we've seen some who really ride on the pavements, like they can literally knock someone down.
Of course, yes, that is where I'm coming.
Yeah.
And then you know, the sector has been looked down upon. You see, like now in the CBD. Most of the time, you take the bike because you want to go faster, at least to beat time. In this town, we are seeing the NMS constructing maybe the passway for pedestrians and maybe for cyclists. But now the riders, you see, we cannot say stop on, sometime you can just get outside here to find out that Kenyatta Avenue has got the jam from here to the roundabout, and you have a bike. Why can't they just construct the lanes outside for the riders, like maybe in the CBD, because of the jam? At least so that, you know, there are some things we can, instead of blaming each other, we can look for solutions. And the solutions, I think, in the CBD is the riders having their own lane. Okay. Of course, in Thika Road, we can manage. These highways, we can manage. But in the CBD, sometimes when you want to stop here, you'll stop like an hour. But you see the pavement. Now, these guys are tempted to go to pavement so that they can go faster.
Right? I see that. Okay, all right. And of course, Kevin, the question might be, and this some of the conversations that you have when you have these meetings, just to make sure that, like we said earlier on, we need to share the road, right? But also have designated lanes for riders. Like, are these some of the conversations that you have?
Yes, as an office, I remember I wrote to the CS Means of Transport and the Director General Keniha. And you were saying, because most of the accidents have been happening on the Mombasa Road. Now that they are constructing another road on top, which means that there will be an ease of traffic down. Okay. And they have demolished everything, which means they will be recarpeting the road again. So I wrote to them requesting for 1.5 meter space, only 1.5, as they'll be doing the recarpeting of the road, the normal road down there. But you see, I got a response that, okay, we look into it in future. So I'm wondering, which future are they going to construct that road again? How many years to come will they construct that Mombasa road? And you can imagine if they will have given us 1.5 meter, there's no day a boda rider will mingle through with other vehicles, knocking down the side mirrors all those, or even being knocked by those motor vehicles. And this is something that they can easily fix. Then we move on, because all this boda are here to stay. There's nowhere they'll go. They have employed so many people. You cannot pull them out of the road. So the best thing is to create harmony and absorb them into the system. Other people are doing this. When you go across the world, you have a dedicated lane for the motorcycles. But in Kenya, someone tells you that we look into it in future. Which future? Where is this future? The future that we don't know. So I think the government people can just sit down, think, and understand and solve the issues rather than keeping these issues to go for long. When we have our own lanes, I think Kenya, in fact, other countries will come and benchmark here to see there will be no accidents anymore. There's more chaos. There will be no chaos with the operators, with the other road users, because we will have dedicated lanes, no accident. And the reason why you leave your car to take a motorbike is that you want to go faster. So when someone tells you that go and queue behind the cars, yet you left your car to board a motorcycle so that you can rush because of traffic, that person doesn't think, I think so.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that there needs to be a bit of, I would say give and take,
Yes.
all right. But also he also mentioned something to do with the fact that, yes, you are observing, the traffic rules, but then again, it's like the city askaris or even
Yes.
the traffic would come and just arrest them because, so do you need to also involve, the police, that is the traffic police, just to get to understand? But before you answer that, let's take a look at more of the feedback in terms of what we asked you today, and that is, what is your experience with the boda operator? What is your experience with the boda operator? Let's get to hear what you had to say. That is as far as the feedback, if we can have them. All right. So, and of course, right, like we said earlier on, what is your experience with the boda operator? Because like we said, these are really people that we absolutely need. All right, so Akeo Erima says, they are good when they are not in a group. Meet them in a group and you may fail to recognize them due to their behavior. Okay, Kevin, I hope you're taking notes. And then Trivian Kari says, there are many honest boda operators. God bless them. Absolutely. And then Sharon Muyama says, they are good people trying to earn their daily bread. Lakini, they should stop riding on sidewalks. Okay, Henry. And then Stephen Ongwangi says, not all of them are mannerless. We have those who are sober and well-mannered. That's true. And then Stephen Mudui says, they take me from point A to point B, though advise them to stop driving on the opposite sides on highways. All right. And then Beth Njeri says, they are good, but a few of them are not good. 2 years down the line, one of them hit my daughter. I am sorry. And then Franceline Jelagat says, I love boda guys. Ukiwa kwa nduthi, then uanze the phrase, hii serikali tu. Story katoshika until the end of destination. All right. And then Otis Savi says, I was once a boda operator. I had amazing time with my customers. All right. So, and then Mwende Wajiku says, Joseph Peter, one of the biggest in Mwingi, very kind and humble. Sibarikiwe my pilot kwa ground. Oh, that's really nice. Okay. All right. So if you also want to big up your boda operator, because we all know, we usually have our boda person, who you trust and you can rely on. Again, if you want to big them up, again, feel free to do so. But like I said earlier on, we just want to see ways that we can number one, streamline the sector, but also just create, that coexistence, and especially on the road, as far as both the motorist, boda sector, and the pedestrian as well. So let's take a break. But of course, when we come back, we'd also want to understand there's always this aspect of interference, and that is from the politicians, right? So what is that like? And then, of course, there was also a conversation about setting up, and that is creating a National Motorcycle Safety Council, all right? What difference will that make? Again, we'll get answers from the same. Stay with us. This is Your World. More still to come.
As Dr. Funiken Mamakai hosts unscripted true-life relationship experiences on reality TV show Kupatana, Nia, Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. and Kupatana every Tuesday and Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Terms and conditions apply.
You've been searching for a solution for your stubborn dark marks. So have we. Nivea Lumina 630. With a breakthrough patented ingredient, Lumina 630 visibly reduces stubborn dark marks accumulated over 10 years in 4 weeks. Nivea Lumina 630, our ultimate solution for even and luminous skin.
The First Lady.
What was I thinking when I left that money in your hands? That's what I get for being naive, for giving you a chance.
Think whatever you want, Father. Because I do always keep my promises, and sooner or later I'm going to come back here and take you out of this place, because you know what? I'm the one that doesn't mind sharing everything I have with you. Excuse me.
Get peace of mind and protect the ones you love with the power of Dettol Bar Soap. It cleans and protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. So no matter what type of mum you are, trust Dettol.
It's now more than 2 years since the COVID outbreak began. In that period, the world has braved waves of infections driven by new variants. Here in Africa, countries are returning to normal as they gradually phase out COVID restrictions. As this happens, China locked down an entire city as it battled a new wave of infections. COVID cases are also surging in parts of Europe. So, is it too soon to lift COVID restrictions? In other developments on the continent, the East Africa community has a new member, the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is a big catch for the bloc. What changes now? How is this going to shape the region?
Interestingly, we've never had an account with any other bank, and we don't intend to. It's good when you've got a trusted partner.
Welcome to the family, your home of all construction and manufacturing needs, because you can always bank on family.
The only thing missing in your life is a child.
We will soon have one. We're still young. I really hope we can have a baby soon.
A couple yearning to have a child.
I might disappoint Adrian's dream of having a family. I'm afraid I may never get pregnant.
Ah! Adrian! I'm pregnant! Adrian! Ah!
Borrowed embrace.
Brookhurst International School welcomes parents to enroll their children for April intake. Class 8 graduates can now enroll in Year 9. We are excellent in education, talent and sports development. Enroll now in our main campus in Kiserian and in our campus in Lavington, Mudhangari Road.
All right. Okay. Of course, the conversation continued during the break, but it's all about taming the boda sector. And of course, today we're asking you, what is your experience with a boda operator? And I'm just happy to see a lot of people saying, listen, we have really good, boda operators out here. Lakini, it's usually a bad. Wakikoko group, they become a totally different person. And of course, I'm happy that we have Henry, we have Kevin as well, who are in the sector to just tell us, kwa nini mkikuwa kwa group is when we see a lot of chaos. But then again, if you have any other question in relation to the sector, whether to Henry, to Kevin, we also have Joshua on the phone. Again, feel free to also pass it forward. But also, like I said earlier on, some of the regulations, recommendations that you might have, again, just to make sure that we streamline this sector, again, feel free to do so. And of course, we just want to have this conversation and get the solutions, all right? So, Kevin, no, let me just talk to Joshua very quickly. And of course, Joshua, you, again, with your car, and most of the times, what you experience on the road as far as the boda operator, we also have like, private bikers as well, together with the motorists. Then what do you think needs to be done? Do you think there needs to be like an empowerment both on the motorists, the riders, the pedestrians as well, just to make sure that we all understand, first of all, the road, and best share the road? Or what do you think needs to be happened? Because we cannot only say, to boda they need to be trained, or, the motorist. So then what do you think needs to be done, either from the government side or from, the boda side, and even the pedestrians together with the motorist?
Most of the boda riders, most of these people, most of them are young people. And they are graduating from schools. Others are they are coming from technical colleges, and they are very. We need to have them to have these classes. We need in our curriculum somewhere. We need to have traffic rules and traffic lessons, and traffic know-how, and this will help everyone. Even a pedestrian, when crossing the road, you know how to use these signs. It's not only for the motorists. We have those signs which can help everyone, even the pedestrians. Then we have this mannerism of selfishness. We need to. This is something that can be dealt with from oneself.
Okay.
Because most boda riders are just selfish. Yeah, they want just to use the road. When they are done now, you can use it. Yeah, but now you see, this is something that can be worked on from all the training institutions. We have a training for these riders and everyone. As in, when we can have an institution to do traffic. Yeah, traffic lessons.
All right. But what about, like, especially with the Ministry of Transport? Kevin talked about an aspect. If we can just have designated lanes for, you know, riders, this might be, you know, helpful in terms of sharing the road.
That would be very helpful. But you see, like now in town, you can't be able to now have those lanes. But you can have a way of moving these vehicles. The other day, over the weekend, I was in Kisii town. The bodas there were like 8 lanes of bodas. Then they are squeezing the motorists outside the road.
Okay.
There are so many in town. So we need to have a regulation of how to move. Even if you have that pavement, where that lane that used. There are also so many. They will squeeze themselves there. They will create their own jam.
Okay.
And there are those who want to move faster than the others. Yeah. So it's a plus, but also needs a lot of work.
Okay. All right. Kevin, and I sort of understand what he's saying, and especially in town. Again, we were talking about this over the break, where yes, it's like the town is becoming smaller, but really it's not the town becoming smaller. It is, you know, a lot of people, there's a lot of cars, there's a lot of, you know, motorcycles in town. So can we then have a way, maybe like work in shifts, yeah? You know, you could get from 6 to around midday, and then another group comes, you know, in the afternoon, and then, so that at least is congestion, you know, in town. Or what do you think that needs to be done just to sort this aspect of major towns? So it's not only in Nairobi, you know, in Kisumu, in, for example, Kitale, Hukuitwe, it's a lot of them, you know, on the road.
Kitale is the leading, in fact.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We usually say, you know, you get to Kitale, ukiona boda boda.
There is that challenge of now of our population.
Yes.
And I think this now comes to the government. We need to think wide to see how now we can expand our territories. For example, these towns were built almost 50 years ago. The planning was 50 years ago when the population was small. This does not affect boda riders only. It affects even other people, the mama bogas and all those, the matatu operators, because the matatu has increased. Even the population, you as a pedestrian, it really affects you. So we cannot tell you that now don't go to town now, yet you want to attend to your business in town in the morning.
Yes.
So the government now need to think on how they can expand the towns. Even when you look at the issue of our population is affecting even the households. The sewerage systems that we used to have is not what is there right now. Anymore, because it cannot sustain the population. So these are very big issue where we cannot say that now we want to stop the boda from operating in town at such hours, because he has you said you have your own rider who carries you daily. You are telling that person, you must go to town, you must take me now. Then he tells you, no, I cannot go because my shift is not ready. It will be so inconvenient to you, even yourself, and the rider himself.
And the rider,
So we at the sector, what we want to do is just to comply with whatever regulations that are there to make sure that our sector is good. And I'm happy today, Winnie, because at least most of the people have commented positively about the boda sector in this country. And this is what you want to see. When you see other people appreciating what we do as the sector, I think it also gives us morale to change on our behavior. That's because true. Now people who have, the riders who have watched today's episode, they will, I think they'll go home appreciating themselves, that there are some people outside there appreciating them rather than condemning them. And you know, when someone appreciates you, then it makes you feel good, and you can change. Even if you wanted to do something wrong and you remember somebody at least appreciated you, then you can't do it because you want to keep your dignity. And this also shows that as an organization and the government, we have worked together to reform the sector compared to what it was some years back. And you have seen the CS said the sector grew faster than
than the regulations.
Yeah, the regulation,
Yeah.
the regulation time. So, and this is the challenge that have been affecting us all along.
Okay.
But for us, we committed and we are ready to make sure that the sector
there's a change.
becomes professional. Yeah.
Okay, and of course, Henry, being one of the operators who, again, you know, you're speaking on behalf of so many operators out there. So then what can we do in the meantime, even as we wait? For example, what Kevin said, Mliambo, wait in the future. Sometime in the future, maybe we'll see if we can make changes as far as designated lanes on the highways or on the roads, right? So then what do you think as an operator you can do in the meantime just to make sure that, number one, there's also that aspect of safety for your clients, because we've also had a lot of complaints of people who either are being harassed or they're not safe, you know, they don't feel safe when they are, you know, on a boda. So that's this aspect of safety, but also being kind and just making sure that we share the road together with the motorists and the pedestrians as well. What do you think you need to do as an operator to contribute towards the sanity, you know, as far as the sector is concerned?
For now, as we wait for the future, don't know when the future will come.
Yes.
But as we wait for the future, I personally, what I can do is to bear with others, be kind enough to least ride on the speed limit that is required. Give others way, and all this I wanted to go to our riders. As Joshua mentioned something about drunkenness. You know, everybody has got his maybe leisure, so others go drink. I want to tell them, but when you drink, if it's a must that you drink, if you are working during daytime, drink at night, go sleep. If you are working during nighttime, then drink daytime, go rest, so that when you come to the road, you are sober. Give others
just
way.
Don't drink. Okay, all right.
Yeah, so just look at the guy with the vehicle or the trailer or anything else on the road. Take him like you. Treat him the way you like him to treat you. Treat these pedestrians that you see, treat them just the same way that you like to be treated, because you might not know how many motorcycles that the pedestrians own or the vehicle. So let us not intimidate others as we wait for the future. The government has said we wait for the future for things to change.
Okay.
So that means that there are a lot we can do to self-regulate ourselves, so that we might not brush shoulders with other Kenyans.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's also, I mean, after the Wangari Maathai Road, of course, we also, you know, like almost all boda operators just came up to say, we're sorry, you know. Apologize to not only the lady, but let's just say, you know, all the clients, Kenyans in general, about what happened. And I think that was really good. But then again, so how do we make sure that we do not see a repeat of the same? That the boda operators will be actually at the front in terms of protecting, you know, the people, protecting clients, protecting, if you see something happening, you know, on the road, someone, for example, being attacked, being mugged, because we've also seen pictures circulating as far as, you know, some, I don't want to say boda operator, but just people on motorcycle, you know, actually mugging others and speeding off because, again, speed, right? So just to make sure that this sustains, it's long term. See, short term too, an incident happened, or we are sorry, and then, you know, a few months later, we experience the same. What do you think needs to be done? Like you said, self-regulate, but even aside from that, for the longevity, just to see that we do not experience another similar case or worse. What do you think needs to be done?
A lot has to be done. And as the Boda Safety Association of Kenya, working closely with the government, we now have got links of reporting the incidents as we see them. So we are many, and our people, there's that mode of communication. If you cannot communicate to the national chairman, you can call me. I can call somebody else. Then we can stop. That is the immediate action we can take.
Okay.
Something else as the bodas, as we try to self-regulate ourselves, we also want the police to do their work. At least try. They cannot be everywhere, but at least try. And when the incidents happened, like the one that happened at Wangari Maathai, we saw that they took long before they acted. If it were not for the viral video, because the incident happened on a Friday, then they came in on Monday after the video went viral.
Yeah.
And if I think if they acted earlier, we could not have had such an instance of the president banning the riders or putting the crackdown in place, because they could have just told the president we have dealt with the issue. The culprits are in police custody, so we couldn't have such a mess. Yeah. So I think we wanted to be in a country that everybody takes his responsibility, because as we speak. For now, the president has mentioned that we have got like 1.6 million boda riders in the country. But from the riders' perspective, I'm thinking that we are almost 2.7 million.
It's a lot, yes. The numbers are not.
So this 2.7 million, to man them is not easy. We urge the public, we urge the government to come in and help us. Whenever you see something, maybe you could have a number of entry, you have a number of other official, other leader or a police. Take action immediately, like you, because in this 2.7 million, maybe 700 of them are rogue.
That's
and
true.
we want to make sure that those ones come out so that we remain with the 2 million who are good.
Seeing people who are
maybe just to add on that
and
on the reform, I think the Minister for Interior requested for the list of all the officials from across the country, so that he can also circulate to all the Ngao structure up to the DCCs. And with this now, the duty is just for the government to empower the county chairs and sub-county and ward chairmen. Once we empower them and that there is that communication channel between the government and the officials, it will be very easy for this chairman to report any rogue rider that he can see and action be taken. So empowering the chairmen of the stages, the wards and sub-counties, I think that is also the best move that the government can do, because now they'll be having so many police officers at every station where the boda operators. Because when they empower that chairman, can work as an officer to make sure that he looks into what the other riders are doing. And this is the step the CS Matiang'i took to make sure that he circulates the names of one person in every area that mans the boda rider. With that, the report, when now he sees any challenge, he can easily report.
It's easy to report.
And once he reports, then I think that way we can work together to make sure that this issue of crime and other unrelated issues are easily solved.
Okay, then let's just tackle the aspect of insurance very quickly, because again, time is really far much spent. Again, Treasury CS Ukuri Atani proposed that to just amend the insurance regulations and introduce the third party cover as well to passengers. What do you feel about this?
Okay, for me, I think that's a good idea, first of all, for the riders themselves.
That's true.
And also for you as a passenger. Because, when this person carries you and he doesn't have an insurance, then you get an accident. What happens to you? Well, how is your life going to be? Because you need to be compensated. So for the riders, I think this is a good idea. What we need to do is now that you are coming together, we are going to use the power of numbers to bargain. And as an association, we are going to use the powers of number to make sure that we get good policy that will cover our people, that when you get an accident, you can easily be paid.
That's true.
Yeah. So the policy is a most welcome idea from the government. And also, this thing has been there. It's just that people have been ignoring it. And or other riders have the insurance, but they don't know the procedures to follow to get compensated. Others got it from the wrong brokers. People who lie to them that take it, the insurance card is here, you are covered, but when you get an accident, there's no way you can access. But now through the structures we are putting in place, we'll make sure that as an organization, we make sure that any rider that gets a cover is a genuine cover. And we are going to use the numbers to make sure that we bargain and the cover becomes cheaper to our members. numbers.
All right.
So it is a good idea, and we as the sector we support, because when I myself or Henry, when he gets an accident, he need to be compensated.
That's true.
Yeah, rather than now being poor forever.
Yeah.
At least he can go to the hospital, he can get the medication, so that he can come back to the road again.
That's true.
Yes.
And even compensation, like you said, to the family, especially of the pillion passenger.
Yes.
Okay, Henry, very quickly, would you welcome? Do you have questions still on the same?
Yeah, I think the national chair has elaborated, and what I could also like to get this opportunity to educate or to tell the CS finance. What he doesn't know is that all these insurances that we put on the bikes or vehicles, be it comprehensive, be it the third party, doesn't cover the rider. It only covers the passenger, and maybe somebody you hit or the vehicle. Now we are not covered.
Okay.
So from there, we as the Boda Safety Association of Kenya, we have been talking with some insurance agencies, and for now we are talking with the APA Insurance. We are bringing the personal accident cover to the riders at 1 shilling per day per year now. Right. So 1 shilling every day, that is 365 shillings, and you'll be covered in case maybe you get an accident. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a welcome, but then again, just make sure that the rider, it's also covered in the same. Okay, all right. So as we finish, in terms of just understanding the sector, understanding the gaps that are there, and what needs to be done. So Kevin, what would you say? Because there's also that conversation about creating the National Motorcycle Safety Council. All right. Yes. So will this bring in much of a difference, or is it still the same? You can always
even if you create the National Council and there's no touch with the riders and there's no proper structures, I think it will be creating too much for something that can be done. We as an organization, we are structured. The NTSA is there. We can easily work with the NTSA, we can easily work with the Ministry of Interior, with the structure that they have across the country. So creating another council will be just another problem of increasing salaries and all those other things. But we can still work with what is available to ensure that we deliver a good and sanitized boda sector. And maybe just to close up is that
2 seconds.
Yes, the fuel cost. I'm seeing in Karoka they are charging 1 liter 260 shillings per liter, and this now is bringing a strain on the boda sector. I don't know what we'll do, but we just want to urge the government to make sure that they solve this issue of fuel crisis, so that we can serve the major popularity of this country.
That's true. That's true. And of course, Joshua, I don't know if Joshua is still on the line. 10 seconds, Joshua, as far as just ensuring that there's sanity in the sector. What would you say?
Thank you. Mine is just to say the riders, they need to be their own brothers keeper. They take care of one another, because they know themselves. They know the group they are working with. They obey the traffic rules. They guide one another. Then I would urge the motorists to treat the riders with humane manner. Because also they don't have to take grudge too far. You see, when they take grudge too far, you end up hurting a rider who is very innocent. It's not all riders who are bad. So we need to treat them with humane manner.
Okay.
And at this point, I would also like to recognize my riders around Embassy House. I have these very good riders. I have Wafika there. I have Kenywa. I have Ben. And these are very trustworthy and good riders.
Okay.
And at times I'm so pained when I see them being harassed.
Okay. With the ongoing crackdown, but it's just to make sure that there's sanity. But thank you, Joshua. Metuma salamu to all the riders. Okay, we say thank you very much to you, Kevin Mubadi, National Chair and President, Boda Safety Association of Kenya. We also had Henry Mchwenje, who is a boda operator, as well as Joshua Kuria again, who joined us on phone. We say thank you very much to all of you for coming by today, and of course, thank you as well for staying with us until the end of the show. But also a big thank you to everyone who put together and made sure that the show is a success. I'll see you tomorrow morning again for a topic, and that is very, very controversial. We know brought about a lot of debate, and that is as far as abortion law is concerned in the country. So we'll be having that discussion tomorrow morning. But until then, stay safe, God bless, and see you soon. Goodbye.